the whole thing, when Cecil Rhodes and his group came to power with Lord Milner, and they set up the secret society, which was to make a world federation or a world commonwealth of nations. Cecil Rhodes himself was inspired by a man called John Ruskin, or Dean Ruskin. He was the dean at Oxford University, and his only training was in religion, but he began this preaching of the white man must go out and tame the rest of the world, destroy the cultures in order to create one world culture, and it couldn't be done unless basically they were under the one system, which was to be the British system.
And today we call it multiculturalism.
We call it multiculturalism. We call it the World Federation of Nations.
Yes. But literally multiculturalism, and they're teaching it in the schools.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a document here from 1943, I think it is, from the Pennsylvania, what do you call the Teachers Union, and it's a pamphlet, it's a flyer. They were having a luncheon, and it was called, the title of this was called Educating for One World.
Yeah.
And they talked about forced multiculturalism back then, Alan.
Yeah.
And so
you know, it's interesting because in the paper a couple of days ago here in Canada, in the Toronto Sun, they had a large article about school kids from every school across Canada who had been picked to go to the United Nations meeting in San Francisco.
Yes.
Which was held today.
Yes.
And these children each put an essay in to say why the United Nations was so good and why they were glad to take part in the new constitution which has been drawn up.
The World Constitution.
Yeah. Now here are kids taking part. Now kids know nothing. I'm sorry to say it, but kids have experienced
Like
nothing.
children.
Yeah. And here are children making rules or helping or apparently helping to make rules. Which are going to affect all of us. And these kids are 10 years old. What do they know of life? I mean, they believe everything that's been drummed into their heads in school.
And their parents who are either uninformed or too lackadaisical, too uncaring to do anything about it, are letting it happen.
That's correct.
This pamphlet that I was referring to, it says in here that what they're going to discuss during this meeting, this actually was 1947, 2 years after the United Nations Charter was ratified here. And they said the problems for discussion, and then they said, this is real tiny print, the importance of school support for programs of labor, Alan.
Yeah.
And they said preparing youth for the needs of business and industry, challenge of science in education for one world. These are problems for discussion. And then they talk about administration responsibility for forced citywide intercultural programs.
Yeah.
And then for the teachers, a curriculum for world citizenship.
Yep.
That was 1947, and I don't want to get us off the track on that on this education thing, but this is what it's all about today, because they know that there are some of us who will never, ever, ever give up and will never forget.
Yeah.
And so that they know that their future is in our children.